Hello, this is Dr. Huffstater, and today I wanted to talk with you about a very special and important topic here. It's certainly important to me as the father of two young children, and that is the topic of childhood vaccinations. I want to start off by telling you that this is a very touchy topic for a lot of people, and well-meaning and thoughtful people disagree on it, and that's just the way it is. But I want to tell you why, some of the reasons why we as a family decided to not vaccinate our children. And I hope that after hearing this, if you're in a position where you'll have to decide whether or not to subject a child to childhood vaccinations, that you'll give it some thought and consider some of the facts that I'm going to share with you right now. There are some myths surrounding childhood vaccination, and the first myth that surrounds childhood vaccination, and the myth that's perpetuated generally, it's just spoken as though it's just truth, and that is that vaccines are safe. And that just couldn't be further from the truth. Anybody with any credibility knows and would never suggest that vaccines are safe. In fact, it's silly to even claim that. The U.S. government, the federal government, has just has so far doled out about $5 billion in damages to vaccine-injured children. Why the federal government is doing that and not the producers of the vaccine is a different story. But $5 billion worth of damages has been paid out to it, and there is a special federal court called the Vaccine Court that right now has no less than 5,000 pending cases in it, that all they do is hear cases of vaccine injury. So to say that they're safe is just not true. I mean, there's many billions of dollars that have been spent and will be spent defending and paying out for vaccine injuries. The other myths that I wanted to share with you were that vaccinated children tend to be healthier than non-vaccinated children. Ostensibly, people vaccinate their children to make them healthier, to help them be healthy. And this is playing into another myth that anybody with any real credibility that would, in regard to vaccines, wouldn't argue. They wouldn't argue, at least not with a straight face, that vaccinated children are healthier than non-vaccinated children. This is just not true. Vaccinated children have higher incidence, and this is documented, and if you're interested in knowing where to find this information, I can share it with you. But vaccinated children have higher incidence of asthma, higher incidence of autism, higher incidence of attention deficit disorder, diabetes, cancer, eczema, all the other diseases, all throughout the spectrum of severity of diseases. Vaccinated children have a higher incidence of these diseases. And we vaccinate these children in order to have them avoid childhood illnesses. But what is it we're really afraid of? I mean, we get vaccinations for chickenpox, we get vaccinations for measles, we get vaccinations for whooping cough, we get vaccinations for a variety of other childhood diseases. But the fact of the matter is that the children who have natural exposure to these types of diseases are healthier in the long term. And we see study after study after study that shows that children who've had one or more viral infections throughout their lifetime have lower risk over the years as they get older, have lower risk of heart disease, have lower risk of cancer. As a rule, and this is not particularly controversial, but it's not talked about, but as a rule, children who are not vaccinated are healthier than the children who are vaccinated. And so we say, well, golly, these vaccines are tested, they're approved by the FDA, surely there must be some benefit to them, surely they must be safe. Now, there's a couple things to talk about. Number one, and this is widely known, and it's not talked about in these terms, but it's widely known that the goal behind vaccination is not to enhance the health of the individual being vaccinated, but for the so-called herd immunity, which is also another fallacy, it turns out, probably, but that's the goal, is to acquire herd immunity at the expense of the individual. And when vaccine companies and people who shill for vaccine companies claim that vaccines are safe and they're researched and they're studied, well, there's a little bit of a statistical play that's being done here. Because the vaccines that are tested, we do not test vaccinated versus unvaccinated children. That's not how vaccine tests are done. When they determine the safety of a vaccine, here's what they do. They test the vaccine against a previously approved vaccine. And if the new vaccine is at least as safe as the old vaccine, then it's approved and considered safe. But the truth is that there was a problem with the old vaccine too. So vaccine companies don't like to compare vaccinated children versus unvaccinated children when they test for the safety of a vaccine. I could go on and on about this, but I just wanted to highlight a few different topics for you to investigate yourself if you're looking into vaccinating your child. Like I said, we did not vaccinate our children, and when I don't usually give advice about it, my advice usually is to do some research on it yourself and do some homework. Invariably, when people do their own homework and look at it, they reach the same conclusion I did, that the risks of vaccination far outweigh the benefits and that their child would be better off if they didn't undergo those vaccines. I hope this is helpful to you. I sure hope that if you have a child that's going to be vaccinated, you consider carefully what you're putting into that child and consider the risks and benefits associated with it. God bless you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.